to know how to use things. But the head distiller, real time is seeing this stuff, making the cuts. Moonshine, there's this theory that moonshine could make you blind. That started because the original moonshiners, they were just making whiskey. They were so greedy, they would take that first hit of whiskey every single time. I can't wait to get drunk on this whiskey. And it turns out it's very, very dangerous. Fermentation creates methanol, acetone, and other really serious, nasty byproducts. Methanol and acetone are so much lighter than alcohol that they rise first through the whole process. So the first couple ounces off this machine are deadly poisonous. The overload of methanol on your liver means one shot of that and I can't see your James Brown in a little bit. I also believe that this is the origin of pour one out for the homies. Because if you think about it, all they have to do to make this safe is pour out the first little bit and they're fine. If you were to go to Ireland and Scotland, they have so many snakes that they use a snake metaphor to describe this. I was raised on zoo books. I don't know if y'all are into that, but I like snake metaphors too. The idea is the head of a snake is full of venom and toxin. You do not eat the head of a snake. The body of a snake is what you would enjoy eating if you had to eat it. And again, I don't want to force you to eat a snake, but Biker Jim's is right across the street. They do have rattlesnake hot dogs. The very bottom of this product is very bad. If I were to serve you the tails of a snake, you might be like, David, that's what a snake poops. It's going to taste like shit. So they actually have to throw out the last little bit and the first little bit. They have to cut the heads, cut the tails. This is not a computer going beep, boop, beep, 50 parts per million, acetone, good to go, human consumption. It's a human being go, oh, that smells like Windex, that's bad. Oh, that smells like Everclear, that's good. And he is actually functionally able to determine, so nose heavy of a tour. I'm just killing it, I'm sorry. But he is really able to determine the interaction of the acetone, the ethanol, the methanol, and our noses can detect incredible 1 part per billion, sometimes nuances. And then the tails. The tails are like, they're not deadly, they just have sulfur compounds that have dripped back into them. So the tails are typically sold to other distilleries who are not afraid to add cinnamon and brown sugar and call it Fireball. So if Fireball has ever given you a blinding headache, it's because it's made with a little bit more heads and a little bit more tails than any other drink. It's actually illegal in some places in Europe. And if you want, Google that, because that's some real shit. Because Canada permits a greater tolerance of heads federally than America does. And America changed its heads laws because the fucking rednecks killing themselves and making themselves blind with moonshine. Because they literally didn't understand. All you have to do is pour a little bit out. Like, why is this so hard? So we had like essentially federal guidelines to try to set an example for them and also be able to prosecute them if we found out they were killing each other that way. So that was the exciting part that we kind of missed. I would love to take your pictures at any point in time next to anything. You get the we all live in the yellow submarine feel on the side. On the other side, I can climb the ladder and get a really good photo. Damn, again, this is my ad right here. Alright, hang on to that for one more.
Well, if you guys want.
Well, here's where I would love to jump in. If you don't want your faces shown, I'm A-okay with it. Would you join me in a little selfie? I'm going to add one more photo to the backdrop of our beautiful copper still that I patiently waited an hour to sleep into. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Woo-woo! Yeah. Apparently the Facebook Messenger is just going to throw up. Okay. And if I do it with your phone, I'll climb the ladder. I'll get you that supreme angle.
I'll give you my Snapchat.
Okay. Oh yeah. Alright. I gotta admit, I don't understand Snapchat. Oh! Real quick. Wow. Stan, no, you want to do a little product repping on Snapchat? So earlier I thought you may have mentioned, I don't want to give you nothing to hold. You can hold my competitor's barrel too, if you want. Yeah. They're only $60 on Amazon.com. Looking great. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know shots. It's for Snapchat. that temporarily. Oh man, that was, one more try. Yeah. Alright, and real quick, our buddy's got the nice. Yeah, oh yeah. You're too good of a sport. And if you really wanted to give it a shot, so I bought pre-charred and great barrels. They're like $40 if you don't get them in grade. Then you can go to a liquor store and buy moonshine and turn it into whiskey on your own. Or you can make a bad whiskey and try to make it better. Or you can put a whiskey in it for 6 months, pour it out into a jar, then put a beer in there and pour the beer out of it, and the beer becomes rapidly whiskey infused. With that much surface area, with such a smaller barrel, things age much, much faster.
I'm surprised it's not at all.
You and me both, man. I told Rick, I'm like, you really have to rotate it, otherwise we're eventually going to get some seepage out of the bottom. Sure enough, his guy, I'll be smart. Good. Yeah, Centennial Tours is my parent company. He's the one I lease a party bus from. I used to be just a lowly walking tour guide. I've never done a free walking tour. It's like art history, architecture for foreigners. Foreigners don't tip for shit, so it's a terrible, terrible business model. But I fell in love with this process. And I was just doing that for like laughs. And then I realized if you told people a good story, they'd buy your beer. How do I monetize this? How do I? So thank you guys. 8 months ago, we founded Denver Brews and Booze. 2 years ago is when Centennial Tour started. So there was some template for success. And honestly, the way I'm using the party bus, so as not to make them douchebag mobiles, is to go places. So we do whiskey and jazz tours, or we do this same exact experience then end in a jazz show. And my next big one is the Denver Comedy Bus, where I do a semi-humor oriented learning experience, then we pile onto a party bus with a comedian who's going to perform at a comedy show and go see a comedy show. A lot of fun. I've learned to, not include marijuana in that. It's probably the most important thing, because people have gotten way too drunk or way too high and they're too rowdy at a comedy show. And if people are heckling the comedians, and they know I'm the one who brought them, they just terrorize me, because they know how to roast me, because they show up every day. Yeah, it's a little rough on the show. But overall, last call for any photos if you guys want, or anyone else wants. I'm going to walk us around to just one other side. This could be a last good photo opportunity. But here is their current barrel room. It's got to be a humidity controlled room. Because it actually begins to emit the aroma of whiskey, because those barrels are evaporating. The last one picture that is quite literally the bunghole, and bourbon law makes that these virgins, the barrels have to be virgin. That is, they've never been used for anything else before. Whoa, man. Okay, here we go. So, if you finger the bourbon barrel, you can't use it for anything else. All right. So fun kind of area. I think they're just painting, marketing supplies.
Okay.
They've had a major rebranding effort. They have a huge warehouse off I-70 where they store all of their current barrels. After Ludacris came here and demanded like a green room, they realized the hidden potential behind this room. So they themselves built out this barrel facility. Really will only represent about 1/3 of their true production capacity, because they'll make a barrel a day. But because it takes 2 years for bourbon, they really have to have the space for well over 600 barrels. But here, I'm sure they're gonna start leading their own tours and stop letting amateurs like me just race people around. And this is part of that comprehensive, give people the Storylands feel, or give them the Laws Whiskey House feel. Laws Whiskey House, it's like a $20 tour, but the start of their tour is a church. Like, you're in what's called Whiskey Church at the beginning. You sit on pews, you see a chalkboard, the guys at a podium. It's a real experience. So they're trying to capture that experience that they can define. And also there's value in transparency. Their brand becomes stronger if they're able to just be like, hey, come check it out. I'll teach you about it. You don't want the taste for? Let one of these handsome bartenders show you around, Like, it helps the brand. You can see a lot of unwrapped, unused barrels. If you failed trigonometry, this is where it comes back to haunt you in life. That bunghole has to be at the bottom. Like, when the barrel rolls back, it has to be pointing downward. If it isn't, you need 4 other guys on a forklift to move a 300-pound full whiskey barrel. So the roll diameter, the roll rate of these barrels is so important that they're testing every single shelf, so that when it rolls back, it'll finally be with the bunghole in the back. Because essentially they're going to take a barrel, and they're going to meticulously measure where the bunghole is when they set it on the rack, so that when it goes all the way back and then comes all the way back forward, that will hold it when it goes bottom. And I get to say the word bunghole for one thing, so that's why my wife thinks it's career.
Do they have like a lifespan? You're talking about, you burn it, the flavor coming off.
Oh,
After
yeah.
you use it 10 times, is number 10 not
So,
anymore?
oh, 100%. Or there's a weird equation to that. So a bourbon barrel does have to be virgin for bourbon. A lot of times they resell it to barrel maker, like a scotch or a whiskey or a rum maker who isn't looking for that full bourbon flavor, just needs a barrel to hold something and mature something in. Beer brewers love it for that alcohol content, but there are brewers in Scotland, or distillers in Scotland, who will take a barrel on its 4th round out. Because in Scotland, their scotches will age for 20 years. So bourbon loss is 2 years. You can get a lot of flavor out in 2 years. In order to get that same flavor the second instance, maybe it'll take 6 years. And then the next time is 14 years, you know.
Are they like reburning it in between, or is
No,
it really not even
no,
helping?
typically, yeah,
Okay.
typically they're just reusing it. And in some instances, there are coopers in Scotland who take off these metal bands and collect planks that they consider still valuable and throw out planks that they don't, and rebarreled Franken barrels. Those are the kinds of ones that could get reburnt. But bourbon is typically the only time you're burning barrels. And in a lot of scotches, that's an unnecessary step. The flavor came from the heatiness of the moss and the salt air permeating the barrel, or the grains themselves. Like a burnt barrel can take away from the flavor of the grain if you're trying to blast it. That is a dark rum, you can't taste the value of the sugar cane with a light rum where they never aged it.
So these are all first time?
All first times, yep.
Okay.
I don't know why Americans are obsessed with sexual innuendo, but virgin is typically the terminology used to describe it.
So do they have like a PhD organic chemist here, 1 or 2, or is it not at all?
It's my understanding not at all. This is like hard to wrap my head around, but so much of this industry is built on apprenticeship that it's like a handed down thing. That those who learned it from the books get jobs as assistants. Those who learned it from their grandfather, who learned it from their great-grandfather, run the show. Oftentimes there's a third-party company that is like the quality control leg. So there certainly is a company constantly testing their product for the the potential of like micro things like acetone and methanol. They're always being tested by the Alcohol and Tobacco Firearms Agency for fruit.
Yeah.
That is like, oh, it better be as alcoholic as you say it is, or you're getting in a lot of trouble. If you don't mind my last one out, would you? All right, I know that ran really late, and because you guys were so